Hi, my name's Dave Adolph, and I'm the academic biology teacher at Methacton High School that is teaching your son or daughter. Um, this is just a quick overview of the class and a little bit about how it's going to be run. So, I teach biology, and biology really just means bios is Greek for life, and ology is Greek for the study of. So, very simply, it's the study of life. And I really do feel very fortunate to be able to teach biology. I think it's one of the best classes you could teach because one of the hardest things to do as a teacher is to relate to the kids, is to try to get them to understand how they relate to the content. And they're alive, so we're studying life, and it's a pretty easy connection there for them. And if you understand how life works, you have a better understanding of how you work. What are we covering in this class? Well, most this curriculum is essentially dictated by the Keystone exams. And last year, because of COVID, we didn't take the Keystones because the kids were, sent home around March 12th, and Keystones aren't until May. But at this point, the state is still determined that we are going to take the Keystones. So it's important that we cover all this material. So these are just the major topics that we cover throughout the year. We're just almost done with our first unit on just basics of biology, an intro, and then on the scientific method. And then we get right into chemistry, some basic chemistry, because I know you might be thinking, well, I thought this was a biology class. Why is he talking about chemistry? Well, they go hand in hand. Chemistry is the study of molecules at the molecular level and interactions between forces of atoms. But we're made of those. Like living things are made of molecules. So to really understand biology, you have to have a basic understanding of chemistry. So we're going to do that next, and then we move into cells, which are the structural and functional basis of life. Everything is made out of cells that is alive. We are people, but in reality, we're a community of cells. If you were to have, the ability to just put on glasses and just see cells, and not the whole person, we're made up of trillions of cells. And those cells are all able to work together to make your body function. And that's true of all life. So if you understand the cellular level, you can apply that to the macro level, like an organism like you or me. We also do photosynthesis and cell respiration. We spend a large chunk of time on DNA and something called protein synthesis, which is how our body produces proteins, or I keep referring to us, but any life produces proteins, which is what is the structural component that makes up living things. So when you think of a building, think of the girders, think of the actual framework of the building. Well, with us, that is proteins. We're made out of proteins, and DNA is the recipe book for those proteins. And then finally, we get to genetics and we finish up with evolution, and we do all that before the Keystone exam. Why do I think biology is important? Well, again, I said it in the beginning. I think it's an unbelievably important subject to study, not just because we're alive, but because of these reasons. So, first off, it's always changing. Now, that might seem like something that you don't want to have happen, right? If you learn something, you don't want it to change. But the beauty of science is when you find new information, you reassess your ideas and then you reform a new idea. So, one of the great things about humans is we have technology. And the more our technology improves, the better we can understand our biology. So, as you learn more, you're able to adapt to that. Also, we're living. So, even if these students don't ever go on to a career in biology or science, if they have a better understanding of how life works, they'll be able to work in a biosphere where we live. And even, perfect example, let's say one of their relatives is sick and they have to take them to the doctor. Well, now they'll have a better understanding of what's happening when the doctor's explaining it. So I just think understanding biology is extremely important. Also, we are in the, you watch these movies when you were younger. I know I watched them about the future and cyborgs and genetic engineering and all these things. Well, guess what? We're there. It's happening. The reason why you don't see it everywhere is because it's still very expensive. But we have genetic engineering technology, which is unbelievable. You've probably heard of CRISPR before. They are interfacing our neurology with synthetic components. What do I mean by that? Well, they're hooking people up that are paraplegic to machines, and those people can then control those machines directly from their brain. So we are talking about a level of biotech that we didn't have. And then finally, we're in a job market that's tough, and anytime you have a specialized career, you have an advantage. And biology and science in general, you give yourself a little bit of an edge. About myself, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I've been in Methacton for about 15 years. I've taught environmental science, earth science, biology, and anatomy and physiology. My favorite things to teach are bio and anatomy and physiology. I also have a club that I run called the Medicine and Science Club. If your son or daughter is at all interested in a career in either of those, We're not starting up yet. I'll put an announcement out, but once we get clubs running, it's a great opportunity to kind of, what does that mean? So let's say I'm 16 years old and I say I want to be a doctor. Okay, now what? What do I do? Well, this club is an opportunity for students to work together to figure that out. What classes should we be taking? What are the best colleges for this major? But one of the other things we do is we have speakers come in. So if you at home right now work in any science or medicine related field and you'd like to help out, feel free to please contact me. But we have speakers come in. So last year we had a physician come in. We had a neuroscience professor from Villanova. We had a pharmacist. We had a dermatologist. So it's an occupational therapist. So it's an opportunity for these students to hear from somebody in that field, how they got there, and what are the best steps to take. My little bit about my background education wise, I went to University of the Sciences in Philadelphia. I initially was a physical therapy major and I was in their master's program, and I got to my 4th year where I actually got out to start doing some physical therapy, and I realized very quickly I hated it. It was not for me. So I switched majors to biology, and thankfully I found teaching because I do love this job. I'm going on my 19th year and I still like it. So that's got to mean something, right? And the one thing I do like is I did change, and that gave me a perspective that I can hopefully pass along to my students, that it's okay to change your mind on what you want to do. I'm glad I did it. If I stuck with physical therapy, I would have been miserable probably. So I'm pretty happy that I made that decision. Grading. Because of the situation we're in right now with virtual learning, we had to change some things. Normally, we weight grades, so tests are a percentage value higher than, let's say, quiz, and that puts a little more emphasis on tests. In this environment, I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's fair for the students. It's also not fair for the process because it's really hard to control cheating when the students are not in front of you. So we're doing total point system. We won't have tests and quizzes. We'll have concept checks, we're going to call them, where they will take the place of a test or a quiz. They'll still be worth a good amount of points, but they won't be weighted in any way. So we're going to base our grades on online assessments and in-class activities. We're going to be doing some virtual labs, and then those online assessments that I was just talking about. Finally, what are the resources? Well, I know this is not an ideal situation. I know that it would be much better to have students in front of us and if we were all in school, but I do think there's a benefit to this. I don't know what you're doing for a career yourself, but chances are a lot of people that are watching this right now were working in an office building and now they're working remotely. And a lot of businesses, I've heard from a lot of different resources and stuff, that a lot of businesses have seen consistent productivity and their overhead went down. So a lot of companies are probably going to go to a lot of virtual work like this. A lot of colleges are going to start to go to a format like this. So I think it's important for the students to learn how to negotiate this world. It's a skill they're going to need to have. So even though this isn't ideal for every student, if they want to get into the working world, they're going to need to figure out how to kind of do it and get through it. So one of the things I want to teach them this year is how to find their own resources and how to advocate for themselves and make sure they come to me if they need something, or if they can't get it from me, get it on their own. So one of the places they're going to go is Google Classroom. That's going to be my landing pad. That's where I'm going to be posting assignments. I'm going to be posting all the review materials and all the lecture videos. Also, I'm here. I mean, I want to make it clear. I'm not trying to say the students should be doing their own thing, but I want them to learn how to, but of course I'm here to help them. Just have to shoot me an email and we'll find a time to either get together on a Zoom call or just communicate through email, but I am here to help them. And then also finally, there's tons of online resources. Khan Academy is an unbelievable resource. YouTube has countless tutorials and animations. So if a student has a hard time with something, they shouldn't just wait for someone to tell them how to do it. They need to go and find out for themselves and then make sure they understand it. So that's just a brief overview of my class, a little bit about me. Please feel free to email me with any questions. Thank you very much and have a great day.